just wait. I know that you're on this whole I'm gonna move to Africa kick, but again, I will tell you, just wait and do your research. Do not jump before you look. Things can go bad pretty quickly. To live comfortably, not always luxuriously. That's where people lose the plot. Underspend. Make sure that you do it right. West Africa ain't for the weak. I'ma just leave it at that. And Africa's not one place. People say, I'm moving to Africa. Stop saying Africa. Stop saying Africa. Many different reasons. Black Americans are just getting tired of living in the United States and wanting to leave. Trees are high. Rent is unfathomable. Jobs are being lost. Trump is insane. There's a lot going on in the country. So I increase sense of let me leave and move to Africa. And I have been on this continent for going on 4 years. So I've seen a lot of shit, you guys. It does not work out for everybody. And moving back to Africa, moving back to your homeland is not always this romantic story that a lot of people want it to be. See me using my fan in my house, okay? Because of NEPA. Because of my inverter. These are the things that a lot of you guys are not ready for all the time. A lot of you guys are not ready to talk about all the time. So planning a wedding in Nigeria was a dream come true, but the hardest part was knowing how expensive flights were for my family in the US. Every time they checked, the prices were just too high, especially with the economy. That's when we found ASAP tickets. Instead of endless searching online, they connected us with real agents who found special deals on international flights, especially to Africa. Not only were the tickets cheaper, but their flexible payment options made it possible for everyone to actually book. If you're planning a trip from the United States, you can save even more money. Use my code Brittany70 for an extra $70 off on top of ASAP's already discounted fares. The simple steps to redeem it are in the description below. Thanks to ASAP Tickets, my family didn't just watch my wedding from afar, but they were here celebrating with me in Nigeria, and that made my day truly unforgettable. Comment ASAP below so I can help you get started. So thousands of African Americans do make their way back to the African continent to live permanently, but that recidivism rate is not talked about because just as many people come and try to make a life, many of those people end up going back home, unfortunately, due to a lack of preparation. So as far as finances, I would try to get my monthly bills down as low as possible before you move. This could be paying off your car so that you don't have a reoccurring car note, so that at the end of the month when you're out of the country, your expense sheet for your bills that are still reoccurring in America is very low. You can't even get like an MTN or an Airtel or Vodafone and all these different service providers here on the continent without having your phone free and cleared and paid off anyway. So that's just something that I would do from jump, right? Start off with your phones and making sure that all your devices are completely paid off. Make sure that your credit is clean before you exit the building, right? Do not fall into that whole, I'm going to contribute money and clean up my credit while I'm gone. And, 7 years, it'll wipe off. You need to have access to good credit just in case things go really badly and you have to return home. You make sure that you're not going to get hit with collections. Make sure that you're not going to be fighting against interest rates because things may not always go as you're planning for how life is going to be in your new country, and paying down debt may not be a priority, and that might beat you in the butt a little later. One of the biggest mistakes that people can make is doing that dollar to whatever local currency comparison. So like, oh, this is only $10. This is only $20. It adds up. Do not come to your new country in a old country currency mindset. Okay, that is the biggest way things go bad quickly, because small, at the end of the month, you have spent. The biggest reason people have to go home is money, you guys. That is it. They've overspent. They're not realistic about their budget. They're not realistic about travel expenses. They're not realistic with themselves, and it puts them in a bind. And next thing you know, they've blown through all the money that they came to these countries with. Lay low, be humble, spend slow. Research what health insurance and what health care looks like in the country that you're moving to before you make the move. If you know that you got a bad knee, if you know that you got hip problems, do not move to a country where there is not a lot of accessibility. Access to medications is important, and just because they do have a medication that is very close to what you may be taking in the United States or generic version, it doesn't mean that it's guaranteed to work 100% for you. So you need to make sure that you're doing that research. So one thing that just be wild to me is you moving without knowing the pathway to citizenship or residency. Like, it sounds really nice. Oh my God, I'm moving to Rwanda. But you're leaving the country every 6 months because of a lack of a visa and because you're not going to get citizenship. It's crazy. Before you decide to settle down, can you make sure that you have a pathway to residency, a pathway to citizenship? What does that look like? Do I need a work permit? Do I want to be a dual citizen? What does that look like? I feel like it just goes without saying that is research that you need to do before you move to the country, because you may not want to be paying to fly in and out. You may not want issues for your children as far as citizenship in the future in this place that they're growing up and calling home. Is dual citizenship the right thing for you? Because I know for some people, you end up regretting getting dual citizenship when you go to apply for government jobs later and they're wondering, what the hell are you doing in Uganda? What's going on? They're asking all these questions. It can get confusing. What does land ownership rights look like? How can you obtain residency? West Africa. Ghana is like, it has a chokehold on the African American community. And I used to be a part of that chokehold, but it's overpriced. A lot of people do not want to live there anymore. And the thing is, it just is like losing its affordability that allows people to live the way that they want to live outside of America. It's becoming very much, I am living in America, but in Africa. Do you get what I'm saying? So I think it is diaspora friendly. The good thing about all West African countries, Ghana, Nigeria, Sierra Leone, Benin now, it's that I'm coming home factor that people like. It's that, oh my God, is that a slave ship castle factor that people like to see. But the cost of living will really surprise you, okay? You are really paying a lot for a lot of nothing sometimes. And I hate to say that. Hate to say it. Like, it's not what you always think. People think that their coins are going to go so far here in these West African streets, and they're not. A lot of these houses are just as expensive as our houses at home. And if they're not, you need to be asking yourself why. Land might be a good price, but to build a house with quality structure, quality engineering, a good plan, it starts to add up. This homes that they're showing you online, oh my God, this is what we did for $75K. They are in the ghetto. They're very far out. They're places you probably would not really want to live. Go to the country. That is my biggest piece of advice. Take time to go for 3 weeks or a month and just see yourself, because no amount of YouTube videos, blogs, day in the life, it be fake, you guys. It is all fake. So many videos online, right? All these babes, cost of living, day in the life with me, go to the market with me. Hell, I post them myself. But at the end of the day, you are not going to know what it looks like for you in that country on that budget that is yours unless you come to the country. A lot of people just are, oh, well, I've done my research, landed and go. No, that is not the way to maneuver. And if you can't find a month to take off and go visit a country that you plan on moving to, maybe you should rethink moving. Maybe. We have an inverter, we have solar panels. My neighborhood does have a generator that they put on when things are really bad. But the question is, why I got to do all that? Why do I have to do all of that in 2025? And is that something that you would want to do? Is that something that you are okay doing? You have to ask yourself that before you move, right? Do you have the budget for that? Because solar panels, you have to get replaced every now and then. Water for your battery powered inverter, all these things. I don't even know, but it's a part of the budget and it's a part of the lifestyle here. Even when I'm in a fine dining restaurant, y'all, the lights can turn off real quick. Ghana doesn't really have as much of an issue, but there is an issue there with that for sure. So seeing a mansion on a lot of these West African roads, y'all, you might see the most beautiful mansion you've ever seen in your life. And to get there, your bumper was shaking and threatening to be pulled off because the road was so bumpy. And there's just a culture of, I ain't paving that road. I'm going to ride my Tahoe over the messed up road to get to my house because the roads just don't get fixed. So East Africa, I know the most thing I've heard is complaints about the food from African Americans is that the food is not that good. But the good thing is there is also a very thriving and good restaurant culture. So you can just get food elsewhere. I know that there is a lot of expats in East Africa. There is a very strong expat community as far as networking, businesses. The main complaints I've heard really is just a very big cultural difference. One thing I love about East Africa is going to be mobility. So if you are a mover and a shaker or a traveler, you want to backpack around the country and have a good time, it's really good for you to be in East Africa compared to West African countries. The train system is working. The domestic airplane situation is a little better and more reliable. So it might be easier for you to move around. South Africa. It was a dream. I mean, if you're looking for Africa Light and you do not necessarily want, like, I'm in Africa, I'm outside of the United States, I feel like Namibia, South Africa is the way to go. I did get robbed. Again, South Africa is dangerous. People don't want to be honest about it, but it is dangerous. There is inequality, very much America. South Africa is the most aesthetically pleasing. Great roads, no difference. Like you may really wake up and ride around and forget that you're not in America. It is the closest thing I've seen to westernized living on this continent. I can't speak for the North. I'm not into it for my own personal reasons, but I hope to visit and be able to give a greater opinion. So I don't really know many African Americans who are aiming to diaspora to North Africa, to Egypt and all that. I mean, I don't really know what tea is there. It's cheap. The only thing cheap in these African streets, y'all, let me tell you, is labor and food. Otherwise, that's why everyone feels like they're suffering. That's why people are stressed. Gas, you would think gas is super cheap. Here in Nigeria is not. There's a lot of expenses that add up that people forget to take into account, right? So things that are normally priced here that I would just never have really thought of. In America, we send these kids to public school and keep it moving. Here, if your kids go to public school, it's kind of sad. Like, it's very sad. You cannot do that. You just cannot do it. It's not the good thing. So you have to budget for your kids' school fees. Budget for that school to go up in fees every single term because it never goes down. It's going to only go up. Budget for bribes every time you get pulled over. Budget for that extra fee that's going to come on top of something that you are legitimately paying for. Like when you go to the police station because your car got hit and then you have to pay the police officer because your car got hit just to help you investigate. The little extra money to make your visa work a little quicker. And a lot of Americans come and they think that they're leaving their American taste behind, but they're not. So you're paying extra for all these things just to keep up with that same lifestyle that you had at home. For instance, I have not made a good cheesy pot of macaroni since I got here because they don't even have the cheese that I like, one. Two, getting it is so expensive. I have the money, but my heart just won't let me spend it. But a lot of people do have those things that they really cannot let go, and they choose to import, which costs money, or they choose to buy it in their new countries, which costs money. So if you know that you are really into American products and there's just certain things that you can't go and adapt to as far as being in a new country, go to South Africa. Go to a country where it is ready, available, and cheap. Seriously, because if you go to a country where it's high and hard to get, you're just going to be stressing yourself out. And that's a part of your money going faster than you really anticipated. Cultural adjustment. This is not your country. You are not going to change the country. So you coming in with your better ideas and this is what I want to do and I'm going to be that force of change, and it's not going to work, honestly. And if it does, hallelujah to you. You've really done that big one. But you cannot go into a country and put your expectations on other people. If you're in a country that does not speak English, your best bet is to learn the language. You have got to. If you're going to East Africa, learn Kiswahili. If you are in South Africa, learn Zulu. If you are in West Africa, learn Pidgin, because that even helps you to be able to keep your ears on the street, because people are going to charge you more for things. People are going to know that you're a foreigner. Most of us African Americans, if you just shut up and mind your business, you can really blend in. If you just keep it chill, especially when you're in West Africa, we all really look the same. So if you just keep your mouth closed and learn a little bit of the language, you will be able to blend in just fine. So what would make someone want to move to a country with no job just baffles me anyway. Do not come if you are solely relying on your future business that you plan on building in this said country, because things do not always work out. And that is of all, unless you have a steady supply of income, which is a disability check, a retirement check. I don't even want to say if you have a remote job, because in this economy, I mean, I have lost my remote job. Things can change. Thank God for a husband with a home. Amen. Because a lot of people have issues with rent, okay? First of all, jobs are scarce on the continent for people who are actually living in these countries. So for you to come and really, I get this question a lot, like, what is the job market like there? What do you think? And even if there was a good job, do you think that it belongs to you? Do you think that that's fair and nice? I don't think so. Entrepreneurship is a big thing. A lot of people have entrepreneurship dreams, and things do not always work out the way that you think. And do not base you moving your life on a pipe dream. And inflation and inconsistent prices is something that plagues really the continent. Everything is based on the value of the dollar and a lot of outside sources. I have seen things double in price just from me being in Abuja for 2 years. When you are relocating, at the end of the day, you have to be able to situate yourself to come back home, you guys. And it's just so important. And it's something that I've seen go wrong every single time. Make sure that you are still paying your taxes. Make sure that you have an active United States bank account. Make sure that you have a permanent address. Make sure that you have someone who is checking out for mail. You cannot completely wash your hands, because things can go awry. And at the end of the day, home is home. People do not like talking about as far as moving abroad is you dying. What is your plan? Is your family going to send for your body? Are you going to put money aside just in case something's happened and you have to get your body home? What does that look like for you? Will you be getting buried in the country that you're living in? Do you have a living will? Do you have assets in that country that you've been living in? And are you going to will those to people there, people abroad at home? Would you want them to liquefy? These are things that you need to have specified, that a lot have your living will in order, because these are things that can make even getting you home a very messy process when it does not have to be. Do not live like you're on vacation. Do live your best normal, I'm in the house Monday through Friday, maybe stepping out on the weekends type of vibe. I am buying food to cook at home and seeing what things really look like for you as far as a normal day to day. One hack is to utilize the expat community that is already there, and there are already people there who have done what you're trying to do. Do not take everything they say as the Holy Bible. Take it with a grain of salt, and of course incorporate your own opinions and model things to be for you. But honestly, you're not even safe choosing countries based on the exchange rate, because y'all have to understand that the exchange rate changes, and today's price is not yesterday's price, and it also is not tomorrow's price. So like places like Ghana, the cedi's exchange rate is not friendly to the American dollar like you would think. So your money ends up going very quickly. If you go and you live in Miami, it's very, very expensive. It's the same with a lot of African countries. In their popular cities is very expensive. Here in this Abuja, I be trying to tell people, Abuja is not your mate, sweetie. This is not just a cheap drop off for you. It is very pricey. Make sure that you figure out what you're going to do for transportation, because all Bolts and Ubers really are not the same. So I have had a really difficult time finding good, clean, reliable Uber and Bolt here in Nigeria and also in other countries. Do you want to know why? Because most nice cars, this is not your Dubai, this is not your UAE. Most people with nice cars don't want to be an Uber driver. They don't want to be a Bolt driver. So that's something that you have to take into account is, am I going to want a personal driver? There are no car loans. There is no financing a car loan. You cannot take your car out of America if you have not paid the car off. So at the end of the day, you need to account and ask yourself, am I going to buy a car when I get there? Am I going to send a car that's paid off from America? How much is the actual cost of that? Are they going to stay true to that cost once my car arrives? Do I know somebody who can make sure that this is the real price and they're not going to hammer me with more fees when I arrive that are going to be unexpected? I don't know if that's going to work, so let me just put some money aside just in case, right? The thing that I had to do is to stop the I'm just going to pack and send. I'm just going to pack and send, because it gets old and it gets expensive. So you either need to adapt to what they have in that country and keep it moving, or find a way to get it in the country. But constantly sending to yourself becomes draining. Maybe it doesn't get there in time. The expenses add up. And in my opinion, by the time that you have paid the importation fees, the shipping costs for these products that you want so badly, you were better off doing your best to find them in that country. Unless it's just something so bizarre you can't find. A lot of people forget to also hone in on mental health. Mental health is so important, and it causes people to turn around and go home because things are in shambles. You cannot be mentally unwell, unstable, and just move to any country. Country might take you over the edge mentally. All jokes aside, not everywhere is a beach vacation. Some of these countries are going to show you pepper. Some of you moving to certain countries is going to add stress before it gets better, right? The joy might be coming. It's not there. So if you are mentally unwell, get yourself together before leaving the country. A lot of African Americans look at coming to Africa as a healing, as a renaissance that they're looking for themselves. And I will be the first person to tell you, do not come here until you are healed, because not every place here is a safe space for you to do your healing. You need to handle your burnout. You need to handle your internalized issues with racism and the way that you handle things before you come to the continent. These issues that you are running away from the United States will follow you to any country, and you will find them, because sometimes the issue isn't the country, it's you. It's not racism. Africa is really high on classism. There's colorism. There's just so many isms, sexism, right? So you're going to find issues everywhere you go if the issue is you. Come fresh, clear, and ready to be a clean slate, because if you are running away from something by moving out of the country, the demons are following you, but they probably are running faster. Do not lower your standards. Do not fall into these love schemes. It's very easy to look on YouTube videos oh my God, she's been love schemed, what a dummy. But you can low-key be love schemed in a very small scale, dealing with people where there is an income disparity, where there are cultural differences, where I like to call it an access disparity. So you can have access disparities even in the United States, where you are with someone who is super wealthy, super connected, and you don't have anything. That is an access disparity. So the same thing can take place when you are living abroad. That is an access disparity. Your passport alone might be stronger than the person that you're interested in dating. You have dollars, they have shillings, right? There is a big disparity in the economic power that you have, the traveling that you've done due to your passport. So you could have someone who's equally as hardworking, equally as educated, but because of access disparities, you all are going to have a power shift in your relationship. If you're dating, just do your best to navigate this sensitively, but with common sense and logic. So one rule of thumb that I like to tell my good sisters out there, if he does not have a car, unless that's something that you are willing to deal with from a man in America, you have to ask yourself, am I okay with that? If he does not have a home, housing, is that something that you would deal with a man in America? If asking yourself, what do I really want? What am I looking for and what am I okay with? If you're looking for somebody who is going to bring exactly what you have to the table, then you probably need to stick to dating expats and people who have the same amount of accessibility and economic power as you. I said expats living abroad. What's your biggest piece of advice that you would have for those preparing to move abroad? So let's see what they had to say. Start building a business. Get a home in the motherland. Save money. You aren't going to teach people anything new. You are a student to their culture. Facts. I need to know too. I feel you, sis. That's why we're here. Keep watching. Prepare more money than you think for initial house payments. Fair. Adjust your expectations on what your normal is. You'll likely be miserable otherwise. T. Bring your own pots and pans and work hard to change your U.S. mindset. Shop around for better prices. Don't live like a Westerner. Make sure that you adapt. Have a plan B, C, and D. Mind your business. Not everyone wants to be your friend for real. That's facts. Visit as a tourist first. Make local friends and don't solely rely or stay in your expat bubble. Facts. Research and visit before moving. Leave the American mindset behind and be open-minded. True. Do not relocate without a concrete plan. If you're living in China, Mexico, and Turkey, I'd say figure it out on medical insurance or have a nest for medical expenses. There are nomad insurances out there. I use Safety Wings and they reimburse me for some expenses. Don't sell your properties back home. Be patient abroad now. Process. Prepare to unlearn and relearn new culture, food, music, new manners, and new people. Keep money in your bank account at home so you're able to send gifts to loved ones. Pack some ranch and taco seasoning, blue cheese dip too. I know that's right. Don't do conversion of money to pounds and dollars to where you're living. And I feel that well, this is cheap. This is cheap. That's how you go broke.